Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Pete, Saturday morning, Films and Stuff. How are you doing today?
I am great, Ethan. How are you?
Everything is great as well. It is time for our weekly stream or skip segment.
That's right. But before we start, I would just like to quickly say, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
This episode marks our 53rd week. That's right, one full calendar year.
Wow. Not a small feat. And in those 53 weeks we've done, this is episode 131, is that right?
131, that's right.
We are knocking out over 2 episodes a week for 1 year straight. Not a small feat.
Look at all that hard work Ethan and I are doing for you guys.
Dedicated listeners. Good comments on the social media platforms.
Love it.
It's been a pleasure, my friend. It's been a pleasure. Let's
Likewise.
add some more candles to that cake in the coming years as well.
Let's do it. So let's do our streamer skip. As our regular listeners will know, Ethan has provided a list of TV shows that he would like me to watch. I have provided Ethan a list of TV shows I would like him to watch. The catch is, none of the shows on these lists are shows that we would normally watch. We watch at least 2 episodes, and then we decide, hey, is this a skip? Is this a mooch someone's password? Or is this a must subscribe to the platform?
That's exactly right. And this week, without further ado, I was assigned by Pete the television series called Warrior Nun, which is appearing on Netflix. And I think it's important to explain that my expectation going into this was already a little bit low for 2 reasons. The first is that Netflix is not well known for producing good action television series.
Oh, you think so?
No, I think Netflix is very good at documentaries, and I think they're okay at dramas. I don't think they're very strong on action television.
Okay.
And my second reservation was this title seemed to be trying too hard. You know, I mean, there's the show Billions, there's Succession, there's Yellowstone, there's Animal Kingdom. Those are bold words, but they all kind of like explain exactly who they are. I found that Warrior Nun was just trying a little bit too hard. It sounds catchy, and it seems to be exactly in the wheelhouse of Netflix because I can see a lot of people clicking on it. And this is not a spoiler, but the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes are actually quite good. And I'll get to that in a moment. So I think that this is just a lot of folks on Netflix who are clicking on it. But in any case, I learned that this series is actually based on a very old, I guess a little bit unknown comic book series.
That's right.
I started watching it with an open mind, even though my expectations were not high. And as I told you, Pete, and I'll let you comment on this after I do, I thought the first 10 minutes of this show were the worst 10 minutes in entertainment that I've ever viewed. Am I way off on that?
I mean,
am I too harsh?
Look, I understand where you're coming from. Like you said when you mentioned Billions and Yellowstone, those shows take themselves seriously.
Yeah.
That's the thing holding this show back. Ultimately, you're right. It is a TV series based on a graphic novel or comic book. So you can take yourself seriously, but I think the best comic book style movies and TV shows are the ones that are a little self-deprecating and a little less on the nose about the drama. And I would point, for example, to Netflix's own series history with The Umbrella Academy.
Exactly right. Let me walk through the opening scene just to kind of remind you of what happened and to lay it out for the readers. So first of all, this is an English-based show, even though it's set in Spain, and a lot of the cast is, including the main actor, Alba Batista, who is lovely. I mean, absolutely lovely. She is saddled with a problematic show, but she is absolutely a star, I think. Extremely lovely, and she's a Portuguese actress. So we start with a very, very traditional introduction. There are hymns, kind of being hummed or sung in the background. We are in a very dark, but kind of like gold lit cathedral. It's intended to be a very, very religious, setting. Okay. And the camera is then panning down from the highest arc of this cathedral, showing all the ornamentation. There's all the statues of, the biblical figures and so forth. The camera is panning down. It passes through the stone floor and it comes to rest on I'll call it a crypt, if that's the word, a crypt underneath, the church. And there is a priest. There is a nun. They're essentially standing over this young girl's body. She's the main character, Ava. They're standing over her body. She's obviously dead. She's a little bit blue or pale. They're basically bad-mouthing her a little bit. Like there's a small voiceover. And this is another problem with this scene. There's a lot of information they're kind of giving you, but it doesn't make sense until later on in the episode or even in subsequent episodes. So it doesn't really make sense. But you hear a voiceover and the main character is saying, "I always wanted to die. Finally, I got my wish," right? So you're already confused by this statement. And the nun, who's supposed to be a very, angelic, fragile, religious woman, right, is also bad-mouthing this lady, essentially saying that, she thinks that she's going to go in hell, that she was a terrible person. So you're like, wow, what's going on? How is this nice-looking girl who obviously died, there's no visible, bruises or gunshot wounds or anything on her. What was so terrible about this person? Maybe this is a flashback. It must be a flashback, right? Or a flash forward or something. And the priest is like, oh, it's our job to give, everyone forgiveness. And the nun is like, no, there's no forgiveness for this lady. We're like, wow, this must be just a terrible character. Okay. Then the priest is like taking down information, the name, the age, cause of death. And the nun's like, leave it blank. Don't put anything. Okay. We've got a little bit of a mystery here, right? And then we see, so this for me doesn't really add anything. It's a little bit mysterious. I'm still keeping an open mind. Then we leave the crypt and we see essentially a group of who we now know are the warrior nuns. They appear in an adjacent crypt, shall we say. So it's made to seem as though this is the same church. There's just a lot of tunnels and labyrinths underneath this church. The new nuns are in a adjacent crypt, and it's very action-packed now. There's dramatic music. They're coming in, and they're carrying, one of their colleague warrior nuns. They're all dressed. They dress more like ninjas than nuns, to be honest. And if you look at I look very much like what people are wearing or how they're equipped, right? So they're not really wearing bulletproof stuff. Like it's not like they're wearing Kevlar. They're not really wearing civilian clothes. They're kind of dressed like that dude in Umbrella Academy. What's his name who throws all the knives?
The one who marries Lila, or the one who with Lila.
Yes, Diego,
there you go.
Right? They're just like they've got all these like fancy kind of like black jackets on and black pants and stuff, and their faces are covered. But again, they look more like ninjas than nuns. But I'm struck by the fact that they're kind of carrying normal looking guns. They're not carrying like these crazy like Star Wars laser guns, just kind of like normal diehard pistols and shotguns and such. And they've all got strapped with like a bunch of knives and things. You know, like basic civilian gear, not like crazy Batman techie futuristic type of gear. Okay. So they bring in one of their friends. This lady is obviously dramatically hurt. You know, we are made to assume that this is kind of like they were either time traveling or they were traveling like a parallel universe. She has some type of like effervescent, like blue on her. Like, we don't know if she's like bleeding blue, if this is like some type of chemical, if it's a metal or whatever. And this is where it gets, I thought, terrible, which is it's made to seem that there's all this panic, right? And then it seems as though in the corridor, someone or something has kind of followed them and is like rampaging within the crypt or within the hallway. So some of the warrior nuns go out there and you hear like gunshots and fights, and it's made to seem that there's a skirmish outside the doors of this one crypt. And then there's this very dramatic, sad, we've seen this so many times, deathbed scene, right? Oh, I'll never forget you. Stay strong. No, you can do it without me. I've always told you, blah, 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 right? We've seen this umpteen times. For me, I thought this was pathetically written, pathetically acted, and pathetically staged in the sense that, wait a second, there's a fight outside the doors. Yeah? How can you have this calm, heart-to-heart conversation? You should either be joining the fight. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. In any case, there's this very unconvincing deathbed scene. Then a different nun takes what I can only explain as like a fireplace poker and reaches like a metal tongs, right? Reaches into the back of this lady who is dying and extracts what looks like some type of metal disc, which is apparently very hot. Okay? And this is of somehow great importance, great significance. The nun is running down the hall, holding the tongs, holding this very hot metal ring. And apparently whatever is chasing them outside is trying to get this thing. So she goes into this then crypt room where this lady that we were introduced to a couple minutes ago was dead, lying on the table. And she decides that she's going to hide it in this corpse. I make no judgments. I think this doesn't make sense, but okay, let's just go with it there. She somehow inserts it into this dead corpse's back. And then the nun is then subsequently killed. The ring going into this lady's back, leaving only a minimum scar, right? Non-invasive day procedure surgery, brings this lady back to life. Time out. Time out, Pete. The lady was dying, so they had to take the disc out. But now they can put the disc into a corpse and it brings a person back to life? Doesn't make sense. If the disc gives life, how can the lady who they took it from die? Okay, so they put it into this lady. This lady is now reinvigorated. She's alive. She kills whoever she needs to kill. She escapes. And now the new plot is that the warrior nuns, who's ever survived this attack, who are somehow nuns dedicated to fighting the demons and satanic hell creatures, have to go find this lady who now, unbeknownst to her, has this disc in her back, and she's a little bit discombobulated as to how she's alive again. And small information, she was previously a paraplegic or quadriplegic, wheelchair bound. Now she's able to walk. She doesn't know she has a disc in her back. She just knows she's brought back to life. She's living her best life. Not exactly sure, how she was brought back, what type of miracle this is. And then this is kind of the end of episode 1. I thought it was miserable. I pushed through to episode 2, where she is finally introduced to the nuns who track her down. They explain to her good versus evil. What is their mission? Fighting all these, hell demons on Earth. Ask her to join the team and so forth. Pete, I went fast. Is this an accurate summary kind of episode 1? And am I being too hard on it?
It is very much an accurate summary of episode 1. I, too, watched the show, of course, because of your recommendation. And by recommendation, as in your warning. I think your words were, it's so bad, I kind of want you to watch it, too.
I said exactly that. I said, it's so bad, Pete. I want you to watch it so that I'm not alone in suffering. And also, I want someone else to give me a sanity check that I'm not just in a terrible mood and degrading the show if it actually has some merit.
So here's where I stand on the show based on what I saw on the first episode. 1, I thought the visuals were, the effects were pretty impressive for a TV series.
True.
I think the problem I had with the show, which I already said, is that they take themselves a little too seriously. And there's no problem. If you want to take yourselves too seriously, no issue. But then you have to address the kind of silly, stupid plot holes. You're in a rush. You hear gunfire right outside the church. Do you have time for a 15-minute monologue about how much I love you and what this mission means? No. You have a magical, frisbee that gets inserted into your back that can bring a quadriplegic who's dead back to life. Why can't it do the same for bullet holes?
Not clear.
And maybe these are things that get clarified over the next X number of episodes. Yeah. I imagine what happens is that we learn that the warrior nuns are this old religious faction founded in the time of the Crusades, and that they've become an underground part of the modern day Catholic Church, and they've been fighting a secret war against a second clandestine group. This is as cliched as it gets, right? This girl who's in between, who gets the new disc, she becomes the key, because now they're we can use her powers because we learned that she's got power. She can phase through walls and things like that. We can use her to get access to defeat the other group. And so it becomes a race by both groups to find this girl, to take her into their own group, and then use her against the other clan. This is pretty much where I see the show going. Again, for anyone who's read a comic book, for anyone who's, into this, fictional world, this is the most cliched of cliched storylines. Premise-wise, I don't mind it, to be honest. I honestly don't mind it, but I think it just gets bogged down with a lot of seeming nonsense. And, no one is likable. The nun, the lovable nun who's supposed to be a nun, turns out to be this Nurse Ratched style bad guy. All of the warriors, the only one who seemed like they could be nice, died on the table in the very beginning. Everybody else was forget her, leave her body, we gotta go.
I agree. I mean, I agree with the point about the elevator pitch is I'm okay with, I think Warrior Nun is a little bit strong, but I agree that there's kind of this clandestine group, within the Roman Catholic Church that's responsible for fighting evil, and they're not affiliated with, any country. They're just this do-good force, right? I have a little bit of a problem with the weaponry that they used, I mean, I don't want them to be, Men in Black and have all this crazy stuff. But at the same time, I found for the beasts that we see them fighting, they're just practicing karate and normal MMA style boxing. That's not going to win this war, right? They should be. It was just very strange.
Can I give you a reference point it was not
Yes.
a great movie, but wasn't bad, was Hugh Jackman's rendition of Van Helsing. Where you
yes,
see
I
he's
remember
working
this.
for the church. He
Yeah.
goes down into the basement of the church.
Yeah.
You see the lab, and they're
Mhm.
doing like tests with like religious weapons and things
Yeah.
like that. That for me would have been far more fun. It wouldn't have been unique, but it would have been a lot more fun. Like, okay, anyone can grab an AK-47 or an M16 and start fighting these guys, right?
I agree.
You're not adding any value add by saying, I'm a
agree.
warrior nun, give me my M16.
I agree. I think the elevator pitch I probably could have gotten behind, and I'm always interested in like these secret sects and like clandestine wars. I could have got behind it, but you said it best, is that the show is taking itself too seriously. And despite me loving Elba Batista, I have a major crush on her already, and I think that she does very good in her role. The overall plot of this is just so nonsensical that, and this is where I get to Rotten Tomatoes, I'm not sure how the score is so high, and I'm not sure what I can trust anymore. Because if this is just 1,000 fans or 1,000 bots saying the show is amazing, I don't know. I'm looking at it now. 84% average tomato meter, 96% average audience score. That's fraudulent. No way.
I think there's two takeaways from this. One, perhaps there's a little bit of bot work involved on Rotten Tomatoes. And two, and please forgive me, but this is going to be a slight criticism on our own format.
Ouch.
This is where you see the potential weakness of Streamer Skip, which is we are limiting ourselves to 2, maybe 3 episodes at a minimum, where there's no upper limit. And this show could be like one of those old school first generation streaming shows, which was, give us time. Let us walk you through this, and by the 5th or 6th or 7th episode, you'll be hooked. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the fact of the matter remains is the reason we created Streamer Skip is that today we have at our fingertips thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different options. And for any show to sit down and say, stick with us for 6 hours. By the end of the 6th, you'll really love us.
We'll figure it out.
That's a big ask.
We'll figure it out.
That is a big ask. And I think that's the problem, is that maybe the show is fantastic. For all we know, by the end of the 10th episode or 12th episode or 8th episode, whatever it is, both of us would turn around and say, my God, we were wrong. This is fantastic. But in 2022, we've got jobs, we've got personal lives, we've got other commitments. And that's not just Ethan, that's not just Pete, that's everybody. Everybody is busy. Yeah. We have things going on. It's a big ask for a TV series to say, hey, you've got limited time in your week. I need you to dedicate the next 3 to 6 weeks of your life before you even decide if you like this show. I'm sorry, but I'm out. That, for me, is an indicator.
I agree. And I feel like shows have so much pressure, though. I don't think that shows are ignorant to that pressure. In fact, I would say that Warrior Nun, the way that it was set up, probably recognized that pressure by having this huge dramatic scene at the beginning. But again, I think this is wrong. That scene didn't do anything for me. Instead, I would have liked to have gotten to know the characters a little bit. I don't have any attachment to the characters. And I know this is your big issue and I'm stealing it a little bit. Who am I supposed to really like in here? And who do I know? I know Ava. That's the only character I can definitively say I know anything about. I don't know anything about anyone else. I don't feel anything towards anyone else. I'm not sticking around for 7 or 8 episodes when there's nothing else to be learned or to be gained, right? There's no mysteries anymore. I already know at the end of the first episode what's happening. it's good versus evil. They say it at the beginning, right? Okay, there's some hell demons and there's the warrior nuns, and it's just going to be a series of fights, right?
I think this is one of the rare few shows where a voiceover monologue and maybe like a montage or a vignette of the war that's actually happening might actually be helpful.
Yeah.
We saw it in the beginning of in the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
I think a 3-minute recap of where the two clans actually are would be helpful, only because I'm all in. For me, honestly, the premise isn't bad. I have no qualms with the premise. I like I love secret societies. I love the idea. Like Hellboy, the FBI has a secret supernatural bureau of investigation. Love it. We don't know anything about the organization. We barely know anything about the people in that organization. You know, and again, at least then explain it in the first episode. We don't even get that in the first episode. So it is...
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say it's an immediate skip based on the first episode. And of course, I only watched the first episode. You've watched the first 2.
But you didn't watch more. And you could have. I mean, no one stopped you from... You could have said, like, actually, I don't know. I think Ethan might be wrong about this one. Like, I'm kind of intrigued. Let me watch the second one.
Yeah, I think there's also a little bit of bias here is because, Ethan knows me relatively well. I know Ethan relatively well. So when I say, hey, Ethan, I think this is a show you're really, really going to like, generally speaking, we know each other well enough to know this is what Ethan's going to like. Or at least he's going to be within a few degrees of separation from me. So when Ethan turns to me and says, this is such a terrible show, I want you to watch it because it's terrible, I trust Ethan's recommendations enough that I know that, hey, I'm not going to waste 3 hours of my life to watch 3 episodes. I'll watch the first because he told me to and he thinks that it's a good idea to watch it. But beyond that, forget about it. I'm not interested.
Somehow this has a second season. And again, this is, I mean... I can't say that doesn't deserve to be on Netflix. I mean, they can make whatever shows that they want. And like I said, I think that Ava is a star, but I mean, it is not compelling to me. And it's really surprising that something like this gets made and gets, renewed when I'm not seeing anything compelling on it. And I'm also unable to imagine the person who's like, oh man, I love Warrior Nun. Like, this is amazing. I really hope they have a second season. Like, I'm so into it. I'm not able to imagine that person. I'd like to meet them. I'd really like to meet them and see what I'm missing or what they like. Or if they've watched just so much stuff that there's nothing left for them to watch and they're on to Warrior Nun now. They just have so much capacity for watching shows. But I think if you've got limited time, there's quite a few shows that you should be watching before this comes up on the list, right? And I'm talking about most people. Most people you meet, they're watching 1 or 2 shows and they watch 1 or 2 episodes a week. Would you say that's right? Like, I've got friends who are huge Star Wars fans and they haven't watched Andor yet. They're like, I don't have time. Like, I'm going to sit down this weekend, and probably, try to start it, right? Like, they've got busy lives. So, I mean, someone like that who's a Star Wars fan who hasn't watched Andor yet, and they're like, I just started The Peripheral, that's great. I watched 2 episodes this week. I would say that's a normal person. So I'm not sure who's watching Warrior Nun instead of all the other stuff that's out there to be seen.
Yeah.
Unless you only have Netflix and you're just like, look, there's nothing else on Netflix.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, even Netflix, there are other alternatives. I mean, we've even recommended them.
So to make a short story long, shall we say, I have sincerely given Warrior Nun a lot of thought, more time in my life than it deserves. I rate it a skip. I'd love to be educated otherwise, but for me, it is an absolute skip. And I hope at least these 20 minutes of explanation have been entertaining for someone.
And by all means, please get in touch with us. Leave a comment on this video. Send us a tweet at FNS Podcast.
Yep.
or even drop us a line on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast. Let us know why Ethan is wrong, why I am also inclined to
Convince
Ethan
me.
is wrong.
Convince me,
Yeah,
please.
let us know. What are we missing out? Or is the comic that good? Is the graphic novel so good that maybe we should just skip the show and watch read the books? We're happy to do that too.
All right, Pete, what did you have this week?
I was on HBO Max and I had a TV show called Hacks.
Oh.
So we surmised that it was maybe about like some kind of,
that was computer-based.
Computer hacking kind of thing. Totally wrong. We had the wrong definition of hack. The premise is it's about a young Hollywood screenwriter who has been canceled in Hollywood for some disparaging tweets, some anti or some homophobic tweets or something like that. She's unemployed. She's just bought a house and she's desperate for her job.
Huh.
And she's got like
it's a lady who wrote these homophobic tweets.
That's right. That's right.
Did they say what they were?
Yeah, they made an allusion to it. It was about she's not actually homophobic, but what happened is that she tweets about a senator whose son has come out.
Oh.
And the senator is very much a right-wing staunch conservative. And so she attacks the senator because he's a strong conservative, but his son is out, that sort of thing.
All right.
Anyway, so she gets canceled, and simultaneously, we see that there's a very, very famous comedian, obviously fictional, in Las Vegas. She has a residency in Las Vegas in this fictional casino, and she's in danger of losing that residency because she's been in that casino and in that residency for like 20 years. So she's got decades upon decades of success on the strip, but her act is getting a little old, and so the casino owner wants to replace her or at least downsize her number of shows so that he can bring in newer, younger, hipper acts. So she's obviously against that because she wants the stage. And both of these, the comedian and the writer, share this young, inept agent. So he connects the two of them and says, hey, why don't you use this girl? She can refresh your sets for you. And they end up working together.
Who's in it, by the way?
The young comedian is played by Hannah Einbinder. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Most people will know her from SNL. And then Jean Smart plays the comedian. Now, Jean Smart, most people may not recognize the name, but I guarantee when you see her face, you'll recognize her. She's been in countless movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
That's the premise of the show, is the two of them are forced to work with each other, one because she has no job, the other because she's in danger of losing her job.
Mm-hmm.
It's your stereotypical kind of feeling you get. You get a very young writer, a very old comedian and performer. It showcases the tropes that you would expect, like a youngster teaching the old person what is appropriate for comedy and PR today's day and age, right? Oh, you can't talk like that because it's inappropriate. You catch the older comedian walking in on the younger writer who's sending a nude selfie to her ex-girlfriend, that kind of thing. And she's just trying to understand why you would send yourself a nude pic to anybody, that kind of thing. And, it showcases the out-of-touch Hollywood liberal elite mentality. The young writer thinks she's smarter than everyone in the room. She thinks she knows everyone, and she refuses to see the negatives in her own life. And then, of course, the old comedian is like, excuse me, I've been in this business for 30, 40 years longer. I've been here since before you were even born. I know what's funny. I can do this. And, of course, both of them get to prove their points throughout the course of the show, that, experience counts for a lot, youth and intelligence isn't everything. The very usual stereotypical tropes.
We've been there.
We've been there. I saw 4 episodes, and I'll tell you why I saw 4 episodes. I saw the first episode. I thought, that's fine. It's a setup episode. I saw the second episode. That's fine. It didn't really do anything for me. If this show were a color, it would be beige. I was so neutral about the show. There was no moments where I felt like it was laugh out loud funny, because I think it comes off as a comedy like a dramedy, if you will. There's nothing that made me laugh out loud like crazy. There's nothing that made me say, oh, I can't see this anymore. And in fact, for the third and fourth episode, I actually had it on in the background. It's that kind of show. It is the strongest example of a mooch/neutral show I've seen in our months of doing Streamer Skip.
Oh.
It is the most neutral and bland show I've seen. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. Sometimes that's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also like when you're sitting down at the end of the week, you've got your beer and you've got, or your whiskey, and the lights are off, the kids are in bed, the wife or your partner is, reading in a separate room, and you're just like, I want an hour to just relax and watch. This is not the one for you.
Did you laugh at all?
No, not at all.
Ah.
So that's what I mean. It didn't make me laugh like crazy. It didn't make me do anything. But at the same time, I was just like, it's not offensive in any way, shape, or form.
Is it trying to make you laugh? Like, are there jokes in there that just don't stick?
I don't think so. That's why I say it's a dramedy. It's not a comedy in the sense that, it's like a sitcom. I don't think it's specifically trying to make you laugh. And some of the situations are inherently funny, but not laugh out loud funny. Funny as in just like, it's how did we get here situations.
Yeah.
So
I
honestly, I don't think this is a good show, but I definitely don't think this is a bad show. I think this is the kind of show that we created the mooch/neutral rating for. This is the one where you're just like, I genuinely don't have anything to watch. I know Ethan has an HBO Max password. I don't. I need to do laundry and I need to do the ironing and folding. Yeah. Ethan, can I borrow your password? I'm going to throw Hacks on in the background just so that my headspace has some noise while I'm doing the most mundane of tasks.
I have to say, Pete, this has cooled off your hot streak a little bit because you were on a tear with The Bear, Industry, Minx, Tales from the Loop, Narco Saints, Pennyworth. I mean, you were white hot on a crazy hot streak. Now you're at a mooch with Hacks. Where are you going to be next week?
For next week, you will be watching The Man in the High Castle on Amazon.
I cannot tell you how excited I am. I feel like I'm going to love it. I've heard...
So pumped. I really think that if this is the show that I think I'm thinking of, I think you're going to love it, and I'm looking forward to hearing your review.
You know what the weird thing is? I can't tell you anything about this show, but I feel like I've heard generally it's very good.
Yes.
But if you ask me to even give you like a one-line description, I cannot.
So I'm not going to give it to you because I'm pretty sure I know what the premise is, but I don't want to even spoil it for you.
Okay.
And if it is what I think it is, I think you're going to love it, and I'm looking forward for you to tell me I have to watch it.
Thanks. Because you screwed me with Warrior Nun.
I did. I must apologize.
Although, I cannot say it enough. I love Ava. Alba Batista is so lovely.
Right.
So yes, Man in the High Castle, super pumped for. Thank you.
No problem. And I will be watching Station 11 on HBO Max.
All right. So that is 50% about a fire department in Chicago, 50% about a space station outside Jupiter, right?
You know what my first thought was? It was potentially about like this lone research lab in the middle of the Antarctic.
Yeah. It's one of those three things.
That I'm looking forward to it because generally speaking, HBO Max has been on a hot streak for me. So,
or maybe it's a news channel.
Oh God, yes, that's right. 24 hours a day of just news. But yeah, that's where we are for next week.
I have to say this was a good week though. I love it when we have shows that people have that are like relatively popular. Like I feel like I did a public service by suffering through 2.5 episodes of Warrior Nun and telling people either do not approach or you approach at your own risk.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear from someone from the Warrior Nun team.
Honestly, I think it's so important. If there is someone from
Yeah.
any, whether it's the writer of the books or the artist or
Yes.
someone from the production,
Yes.
we want to understand. And I will be the first to admit we could both be very wrong. Maybe we're just not looking at it right. Maybe our mind space wasn't right. It could be 1,000 different things, right? And this happens to everybody. There's always this time when you watch a show and you don't get it, but everybody else loves it. What are we missing?
I appreciate your humbleness, but I'm not wrong on this. I mean, this is not a matter of taste. I can understand why people would watch this show. I'm not oblivious to it, but I'm not wrong about the fact that, and I sincerely offer to do this for free. I will fly myself to wherever this is being filmed or produced. I will give sincere, respectful feedback absolutely for free. Take it or leave it. But I'm not wrong that this show is not living up to its potential. And really, if anyone thinks that it is, I'd welcome a spirited, respectful debate with them. But I'm not wrong on the fact that it's not living up to its potential. I may be wrong that it's a skip. Someone may say that this is a mooch.
Right.
But I cannot envision the person very objectively who hasn't watched everything else on Netflix and has access to other streaming platforms who says, no way, this is a must subscribe. I could be watching Night Sky. I could be watching Industry. I could be watching Minx. I could be watching Pennyworth. I could be watching Carnival Row. I could be watching anything else. And I choose Warrior Nun. If that person exists, please tell me and justify yourself and prove me wrong. But I do not believe that person exists.
You heard it
Could
here first,
be better.
guys.
That's the unvarnished truth. But join us next week. The Man in the High Castle, maybe the longest title we've had to date. Station 11, pretty standard title length.
Absolutely.
Pete, my friend, 1 year and counting. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Ethan. It's been a great ride, and I'm looking for many more years ahead.
Indeed. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.